When we hear about AI risk, it's easy for our minds to jump straight to those splashy sci-fi headlines about superintelligence. But the real risks, the ones happening right now, are often a lot more subtle and, frankly, a lot weirder. So in this explainer, we're going to cut through that noise. We'll look at how AI is actually failing today, the systemic problems these failures are pointing to, and the very real, structured efforts being built to manage it all. All right, let's dive in. It really sounds like the setup to a very strange joke, doesn't it? But the answer is surprisingly simple and, well, incredibly serious. Every single one of these events was either caused by or enabled by poorly managed artificial intelligence. Let me show you what happened. So first up, let's look at the problems themselves. And these are not hypotheticals, right? These are real-world incidents where AI systems, basically left unchecked, caused some pretty significant harm, a ton of confusion, and in some cases, real tragedy. This quote reveals a massive institutional failure. You had employees at the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, and their job was to cut grants from the National Endowment for the Humanities. But instead of doing careful reviews, they just fed project summaries into ChatGPT and asked it if they were related to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The AI's totally bizarre context-free answers were then just taken as fact. No human oversight at all. And the result of that? Over $100 million. $100 million in previously approved grants were clawed back. We're talking about projects on everything from Black newspapers to historical papers from the American Revolution, all terminated because of the unvetted and often totally nonsensical ramblings of a chatbot. It's just a stark example of what happens when you mix automation with a complete lack of critical thinking. And this problem bleeds right over into misinformation. For instance, there was a Facebook page called NZ News Hub that used AI to rewrite real news stories and then paired them with these wildly dramatized, completely fake images. A real highway slip, as you can see, was turned into a scene of just utter devastation. Thousands of people were misled, and it just blurs that line between real reporting and total fabrication, eroding trust in actual journalism. And the kinds of harm we're seeing are incredibly diverse. They range from the completely absurd to the deeply tragic. You have the Washington State Department of Licenses AI phone system, which, when you asked for Spanish, responded in English, but with a thick Spanish accent. Seriously. But then, on the other end of the spectrum, a woman in South Korea allegedly used ChatGPT to research lethal drug combinations right before two men died. And in a case of just profound disrespect, AI was used to create a dancing video of a deceased minor. All of these incidents, by the way, are from the AI Incident Database, and they just show the vast and unpredictable range of potential harm. So these individual incidents, they're really just symptoms. They're symptoms of deeper, more systemic risks. They reveal these hidden vulnerabilities not just in the AI models themselves, but in how we're using them and how they can be exploited. A really crucial threat here is something called illicit distillation, and it's basically a new form of high-tech plagiarism. Just imagine taking a really powerful, well-trained AI and just hammering it with millions of questions. You then take all of its answers to teach your own much dumber AI. You're effectively stealing its knowledge, but more importantly, you're bypassing all of the expensive safety features and ethical guardrails that were built into that original powerful model. That makes it not just a business risk, but a real national security threat. And this isn't some minor issue. This is happening at an industrial scale. Anthropic detected over 16 million exchanges from just 3 AI labs that were trying to distill its Claude model. These labs use thousands of fake accounts and proxy services just to hide what they were doing. It just perfectly illustrates how sophisticated and coordinated these attacks are. Okay, another core problem is something called concept drift. To put it simply, AI models go stale. The world changes, right? But the AI's knowledge doesn't, unless it's retrained. So think about it. A model trained to predict shopping habits before the pandemic would be completely useless today. Why? Because all the statistical patterns it learned are now totally obsolete. And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures why concept drift is so critical, especially in security. In a field like malware detection, the attackers are always evolving, always changing their techniques. A model that was trained on last year's viruses is going to miss this year's threats completely. So without constant monitoring and adapting for this concept drift, our AI-powered defenses will inevitably fail. So, okay, faced with all these complex and widespread problems, what do we do? How do we respond? Well, the answer isn't to just fix the code. It's to build a comprehensive safety net, a structured, repeatable system for managing risk. The fundamental principle here is that AI governance is not a one-time checklist you complete before you launch a product. It's a continuous process. You have to be actively managing risk from the moment an idea is conceived all the way to the day the system is shut down for good. This shows you the full AI lifecycle, as defined by international standards. It all starts with inception, that initial idea. Then you move into design and development, and after that, verification and validation to make sure it actually works like it's supposed to. After you deploy it, the work's not over. You have to constantly monitor its performance out in the real world, and you even have to plan for its eventual retirement. The key thing is every single one of these stages has unique risks that have to be managed. Now, to help organizations actually do this, frameworks like the one from NIST give a really clear process. It starts with MAP, where you figure out the context and potential risks. From there, you measure those risks, analyzing their potential impact. Then you actively manage them, putting resources toward fixing the most serious problems. And all of that is wrapped in govern, which is all about building a company-wide culture that actually takes these steps seriously. And look, the NIST framework is just one piece of this growing safety ecosystem. You've got formal international standards, specific technical methods for finding vulnerabilities, and for high-risk systems, there are dedicated impact assessments that force developers to think about societal harm before they even start building. The whole goal is to create multiple, overlapping layers of defense. So after all this talk of frameworks, life cycles, and standards, what's the bottom line? Why does any of this matter outside the walls of a big tech company or a government agency? It matters because this is how we build AI we can actually trust. This isn't just bureaucracy for the sake of it. It's the practical, necessary work that prevents a government agency from just firing up ChatGPT to cancel $100 million in research. It's the process that stops a fake news page from using AI to fabricate images of a tragedy. It is the safety net. Ultimately, these frameworks provide us with a clear roadmap for building and deploying AI responsibly. But the biggest challenge is still there. In this global race to innovate faster and build more powerful systems, the pressure to cut corners and just move fast is immense. So the question we're really left with is having a map enough to make sure we actually follow it?